Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. It's good to see you, everybody. I'm glad you are here. This is this is a place where we get a chance to do what we call intellectual chocolate, which is where we talk about, we talk about things without feeling the pressure to be politically correct, like some of the bought and paid for Negroes that we see on TV. As you know, you got a lot of them out there. You got a lot of black people out here that are just saying things that they'll fight for everybody else, but they won't fight for black people. And it's really silly. It's embarrassing. But I'm not gonna really talk about them. I'm actually gonna talk about us. Anyway, I want to say hi to Go. What was that? Go Bed Dope. I see y'all got these crazy Instagram names. Reg Stride and Christine and Be More and Cardio Stud Go Harder. Man, see y'all with these Instagram names, I can't, I just can't, I can't keep up. But I'm playing. But anyway, I kind of had to chime in a little bit on some of what I've been seeing in the media. There's been a lot of conversation going on about this situation at the border, apparently, where there are a lot of immigrant families that have been detained. Detained, why? Well, because they broke the law. Again, they broke the law, just like, black people have been accused of breaking the law on many occasions. The war on drugs, we were accused of breaking the law. And because they broke the law and decided to try to come into the country illegally, they are in a situation where they're being detained. Their children have been separated from them. And my heart goes out to them. It really does. I feel very badly for any child who can't be with their parents. I think that what really is interesting, though, about all of this, because I think what set me off is I saw this, there's one of these, paid Negroes on CNN. I think Angela Rye, I think that's her name. Yeah, that's it. I know, I've met her. She's not a nice person, not a good person at all. And she's on TV, right? She's out there on CNN, and she's going ballistic over, how horrible it is and how insensitive it is to detain these poor children and separate them from their parents. And it's so traumatic and it's so horrible and nobody can survive because they're so bad. Yes, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. I agree with you, Angela Rye. But I think that what is interesting about all of this, what's really interesting about all of this is that they've been doing this shit to black people since the beginning of motherfucking time, and ain't nobody on CNN been hollering about the pain for black people. We've been going through this for over at least 100 years, and that's when things actually got better. If you go back 300-400 years, we've been getting separated from our families, and nobody, I don't recall seeing anybody talk about the strife and pain and agony and trauma of what's happening to our kids when they're separated from their parents. Y'all remember this little thing called the war on drugs? Y'all remember this thing called the war on drugs? Well, let me tell you about the war on drugs. Let me tell you a little story about the war on drugs. In fact, I'm gonna tell you a little story about a little girl I knew. She's not a little girl anymore. She's a grown woman. This little girl had a daddy. She loved him very much, was very close to her daddy. And her daddy, he had to hustle to make his money. He broke the law, like the people trying to get into the country illegally. He broke the law, right? That's what he was like. Well, he broke the law, so he has to pay the price. You can't break the law. Right? Okay, so he broke the law. All right, fuck it. He broke the law. He was slinging dope. He was young. He was 18, 19 years old. His daughter looked up to him, thought the world of him. Well, the feds cracked down. The feds caught up with him, and so they told him, they said, make a plea deal, and if you don't, we're gonna come after your whole family. And so he said, look, here's the thing. He was very smart. He was probably as smart as most college professors. He didn't touch the dope. He didn't have the dope in his possession. I don't know if anybody got killed on his watch, but he didn't. He never had no evidence against him. There was zero evidence, kind of like the Bill Cosby situation, right? Where there's no evidence, but white people want to make shit up. So he thought he was good because He never touched the dope. He was never around the dope. He never did nothing with the dope. But see, he didn't understand this little trick they have in the United States called RICO laws. RICO laws were designed for organized crime. And RICO laws basically say that you ain't really got to actually do shit to get a lot of time in prison. You ain't really actually got to be caught with the dope to be convicted of selling the dope. You ain't got to actually pull the trigger on nobody to be convicted of a crime that's greater than murder. You don't actually have to even be seen with the money that came from the crime. In fact, if somebody had the money and they paid you the money, then you go down with the person who went out and made the money. So that means that if your mama is sitting at home, you know, going to church on Sundays, working her job as a maid, washing white people's clothes or whatever she does, and you out hustling, making dollars, and you come home to your mama, you say, hey mama, I love you. Because a lot of these guys were hustling to take care of their mamas. They was looking for a better life, just like your illegal immigrants. They were looking for a better life. The only difference is that they really were Americans. They really built this country. See, I can't go to Mexico and say, I'm looking for a better life. Y'all need to just feel bad for me. They're going to be like, man, get the fuck out of here. I can't go to Denmark and do that. People are like, well, find a better life in your own damn country. That's what they would tell me. That's what they would tell me. But whatever. They were looking for a better life in the country that they built, and so they can help their mamas. So check this out. So here's what happened with the RICO law, right? So this brother, you know, out here hustling, doing his thing. He was a dope dealer. Nobody condones that. Nobody condones that. And so this brother, they told him, they said, we're not just going to come after you. We're going to come after your mama. We're going to come after your sister. We're going to come after any girlfriend or friends that you have. We're going to come after your brother. We're going to take down your whole goddamn family. Now understand, this is one story. This happened thousands of times, tens of thousands of times. But I'm gonna tell you this one story. So the feds came in, and the feds eventually said, okay, well, you ain't gonna play ball, nigga. Well, we're gonna make sure you pay for your rest of your life. You're gonna pay for all of eternity for breaking the law. So let me tell you what they did. They locked him up and gave him 14 life sentences with no chance for parole. No chance for parole. 14 life sentences. That means that, nigga, if you die and they find a way to resurrect your ass, we still gonna lock you up. You still gonna be in prison. That you could be a cat and get 9 lives and then an extra 5 on top of that, and you're gonna be locked up for every one of those lives. If they ever invent anything that brings people back to life, we're gonna still come get you and lock you up again. 14 life sentences. Separated family. His daughter, 2 years old, looked up to him, loved him. Now she's traumatized for life. She talked about all the years that she went to visit her daddy in prison and the extreme emotional stress that came from having to watch her father hauled away like a goddamn animal for something that happened in 1985, for some shit that happened back when Dougie Fresh was a teenager. Dougie Fresh older than me. This is back when Dougie Fresh was a teenager. He's still serving time in prison. But that's not it. That's not all that they did. Because you understand, see, we got sympathy for these immigrants coming across the border, but they didn't have no sympathy for you. If those were black people being locked up, Hillary and Bill would get together and say, oh, well, they all look like super predators to me, so we better keep them locked up because they're a danger to society. But no, when somebody else is like, oh, no, these are good people, and you feel bad for them, I ain't hearing all that. That ain't my fight. I ain't got no fucks to give. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that, seriously. Seriously, you really expect me to take you seriously when you're showing this empathy for these people that don't even live here, that have their own country, and you have no empathy for the people who do live here, who own this country, who built this country. Let me tell you what else they did to him. Because you know he's black, so black people, they can absorb infinite amounts of pain, right? It's not like where they're gonna actually just give us a fair punishment. It's gotta be beyond extremely unfair. That's how you deal with the niggas. You show empathy to the immigrants and to the white folks, but you ain't gonna show no sympathy for no niggas, because niggas are like roaches. You just exterminate their asses and keep going. They locked him up. Then they went after his brother. They gave his brother 20 years in prison. Again, separated family. His brother had children. The children grew up without a dad. That for the next 20 years, their children were traumatized and went through only God knows what happens when you don't have your father. Did anybody get on CNN and say, oh, these are separated families, you've got to fix this, this is a national tragedy, this is their moral compass? No. Democrats, Republicans alike, none of those sons of bitches had nothing to say about those separated families. Nothing. Oh, but then I ain't done yet. So he gets 14 life sentences. His brother gets 20 years. Then they go get his sister, who didn't sell nothing, who wasn't selling nothing. Now she was a drug addict, but she's a nigger drug addict, so that means that she's morally reprehensible. She's a bad person. Now, if she'd been a white drug addict, then they probably would have felt bad for her, and like they're doing all these white heroin addicts, and they would have put her in rehab and gave her free needles and some therapy and some massage to say, oh, you're okay, it's not your fault, it's society's fault. No, but she's black, so just lock her ass up, throw her in prison. Oh, she had kids too. Again, another separated family. Oh, and then for the finale, they went and got his mama. So they locked his mama up, and Big Mama ain't never usually selling no dope. Sometimes they do, but most of the time, Big Mama don't even know where the money came from, or maybe she knows, but she don't like it. So she goes and gives some of the money to the church or something, so she don't feel so bad about it. Or she says, "I'm not taking that money," but she needed it. She was poor, so she took some of this money. Well, because she took the money, she too went to prison for 8 or 9 years. I don't remember which one it was. So for the next 20-something years, or actually to this day, this man's children were traumatized repeatedly from not having their father at home. Not one single person I've seen on TV actually gave a damn about any of this. And so when I see these little Negroes on TV, the Angela Ryes and the Van Joneses and all of them getting all up in arms about separated families and what you're doing to these poor children and all that stuff, I'm like, well, where the fuck were all of y'all when black people were going through the same shit times 1,000? I mean, seriously, if I went with my family and said, we're going to go violate another country's sovereignty and we're going to break in their house, we're going to break into their shit and illegally, I wouldn't be surprised if they do whatever they want. I mean, go to Venezuela or China and break their laws and see how much sympathy they have for you. They have no sympathy. They'd be like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, do you really think that you live here? You don't live here. Take your ass home. That's what they would say. Now, I'm not saying that that's the policy I agree with per se, but I'm black. I got 1,000,000 problems. I got 99 problems, and immigrants ain't one. I'm a black man. I got 99 problems, and white liberal democratic issues ain't one. Seriously, I got a long list. I got a stack of black issues I got to fix this high before I can get to your shit. Your shit's going to be at the bottom. I got to work through this pile of paper on black issues we got to fix before I can get to your shit. But most of these politicians, I'm sure that the Congressional Black Caucus, being the little monkeys that they are, I'm sure they're all lining up and reciting whatever talking points the Democrats have given them to give. Let me Google this. I'm gonna Google this. I'm gonna Google Congressional Black Caucus child separation. How about that? So let's see what comes up. Let's see here. You know what? Here we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, this is, they wore traditional African kente cloth in a show of protest against Donald Trump's policies of separating children. Oh, that's another thing that's interesting that people are doing. People are, people are basically now comparing what's happened with these kids to what happened during slavery. And I don't know about you. I don't know if you're as offended as I am, but I'm sorry, like you can't win that competition. Like this is not slavery. This is something you chose to try to bring your kids into another country illegally. I feel very bad about whatever situation, you know, or whatever country opportunities you were trying to get away from. Maybe you were looking for a better life. Not everybody is coming across to the United States to look for a better life. A lot of them are coming, not everybody, but there are people there that come because they're sex slaves or come because they are doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But then again, most people I know from other countries are hardworking, good, decent people, and that's great. But you know, I can also go through the South Side of Chicago and find many places where Black people can't get jobs anymore. Construction sites and things like that. They can't get jobs anymore because there are people there. There's like a group of Latino construction workers that basically will hire other people like them. So they look at you like a sucker. They're like, okay, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna play on your sympathy to get you to give up your shit. But when we get a hold of your shit, we ain't sharing that shit. We ain't sharing news. There are a lot of HBCUs that will hire people from China and India and other places to because they just I don't know, they're looking for faculty members that don't cost a lot of money. And you know what they do when they get in there? I know this because I went to interview at a couple of HBCUs, and I remember noticing that they had a strong Chinese and Indian presence. What they do is they hire other people. They do what you're supposed to do. They hire their own. So you bring in one Chinese person, I guarantee you that you give him some power, I guarantee you that within a couple of years, he's going to hire another Chinaman and another Chinese person and another one. Next thing you know, your whole damn HBCU department will be Chinese, right? Go look, go check out some of these HBCUs. Check out computer science, check out business, check out anything scientific involving medicine and things like that. It's going to be pretty Asian, very Asian. You know, and then what happens is when an African American knocks on the door and says, "Hey, this is an HBCU. I'm gonna be with my people. You know, Wakanda forever. I'm gonna teach Black folks." A lot of times they won't have a position for the African American, but they will because they have hired so many people from other countries. So I'm just saying that that there's something to be said about taking care of yourself first. It doesn't mean that you can't have empathy for other people. It doesn't mean you can't have legal immigration policies. But what's really backward about this country is that we have got to the point where we really are somehow believing that illegal immigration should be legal when technically you've broken the law. And when Black people were breaking the law for the war on drugs, they didn't give a shit. They would punish you to the fullest extent. They would throw the book at your head. They would throw it at your mama. They did not care. When that little girl I told you about got separated from her father, wasn't nobody on TV screaming and crying about the separation of families and how devastating that is to the Black community. All that happened was in the 90s, Hillary Clinton called Black children super predators and basically excused the idea of giving, think about this, they were giving juveniles life sentences in prison. Juveniles, life sentences in prison. Who do you think those laws were for? They were for Black people. They literally, the vast majority, if not every single juvenile who's ever been given a life sentence, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 99% of them have been Black. They made those laws for you. So your babies, they have no empathy for your babies, but they expecting you to cry over somebody else's babies from another country whose parents chose to violate another country's sovereignty. That's insanity to me. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't give a damn what people think. You can say whatever you want. Oh boy, you sound like a Republican. You sound like Donald Trump. Man, fuck you. I sound like a man who's got some common sense right now because you don't have any sense. You've let these people decide and define what you think and what you believe about the world, and you've allowed them to convince you to put your people last. That's why you're losing. That's why Black people are losing. Why do you think you're coming last? The reason you're coming last is because they put you in last place. Why do they put you in last place? Because you walk to the back of the line. Why do you walk to the back of the line? Because that's what you've been doing since slavery. So if you think that I'm talking crazy, well, maybe it sounds crazy to you because you think black people belong at the back of the line. All this sympathy people are showing for the immigrant children that are coming across the border and their parents who've chosen to violate a country's sovereignty and engage in illegal immigration, all this sympathy people are showing, I'm sorry, they would never show that sympathy to black people. Because right now, there are probably about 1 million or more. 1 million or more. You got about what? A few thousand kids down at that Walmart detention center. God bless them. You know, don't take people away from their babies. Fix that if you want to. That's all good. But check it out. I could point to 1 million or more, 1 million or more, 1 million or more black children right now today who are traumatized beyond belief because they went through family separation during the war on drugs, during the time when their father was hauled away in chains like a goddamn slave back in 1992, and you ain't never gave a fuck. Angela Rye, you ain't never gave a fuck. Van Jones, you ain't never gave a fuck. I don't see you using that CNN airtime talking about none of that, but you're going to talk all day about these immigrants because somebody paid you money to go on TV and cry for white people. Man, I'm sorry. You know what? If this was not a political issue, I swear to God, if this was not a Democratic Party issue, half of these people wouldn't even be talking about it. All they're doing is reciting the talking points of the Democratic Party because they spend all this money they spend more energy being anti-Trump than they spend being pro-black people. I am not pro-Trump. I probably am sort of anti-Trump, but I'm more pro-black people than anything. There's a difference between being pro-black people and being anti-Trump. Being pro-black people means that you accept the idea no matter where it comes from. So that means that if Donald Trump said, I want to invest $1 million into black businesses in Chicago, then I say, God bless you for that particular thing. I don't care about nothing else you did. I ain't going to comment on that. But this one thing you did right here, that's all right. So when Trump went to those athletes and said to the athletes, again, he's buying them out. Everybody knows that's what politicians do. It's all fake. It's all fluff. It's all it's all superficial to a point. It's all very symbolic. Absolutely. That if you want to see symbolism, go analyze the Obama presidency. That was nothing but a big bowl of 8 years of super symbolism and feel-good moments. That's all it was. Because we sure as hell didn't benefit from having a black president. There's nothing. The same hoods that were busted up in 2008 were busted up in 2018. So don't tell me that there was substantive benefit. It was all symbolism. So yes, it might be symbolic, but when Trump went to those athletes, and he said, give me the names of your friends that have been locked up and I'm going to use my presidential pardon to get them out. You know what I would do? I'd be like, man, yo, look, I ain't trying to say I like this dude, but my cousin been locked up since 85 on some bullshit. I mean, you got black people in prison on a weed charge, separated families with kids at home. Got kids at home, got a daughter at home being raped right now. There is some man somewhere, and probably thousands of them, whose daughter's being raped right now because he's locked up on a weed charge where weed is legal. Now, white people make money off weed, but there's black men in prison right now on a weed charge where his daughter's at home being raped because her father's not there to protect her. So you expect me, in the midst of all this chaos, to stop and say, oh my God, these poor kids and these poor immigrant kids, I mean, their parents, came over for a better life, and they're stuck in a Walmart, and they're being so traumatized because black people, we know nothing about trauma. We don't have our own trauma. We are self-sacrificing people where we're gonna put somebody else's trauma ahead of our own. I say you need to get out of here with that. You need to quit smoking. Whatever you smoking, you need to quit because it's making you stupid. It's making you stupid. Does it mean that you can't have sympathy for other children and other families? Absolutely. But for hundreds of years, black people have been trained to do one thing, and that is to put everybody else's interests ahead of their own. That's what you've been trained to do since slavery. That's why black mothers would drain their bodies of breast milk feeding white babies while their own babies were sitting at home hungry. That's why black men work themselves into the ground trying to serve massa. This is an age-old tradition. So I'm gonna tell you, I can't say that this. I'm not gonna ever say that I think that any of this is okay. I don't think that the whole separated families thing is a good thing. I think that, you know, look, if you can bring them together with their parents, do that. But man, seriously, I mean, how can I even give half a fuck about that when right now at this very moment, there are black children at home. Again, there are daughters at home right now being raped right at this moment. Right at this moment, she's being fucked right now by some man that got a hold of her because her daddy was not home to protect her. So you expect me to ignore that, but I'm supposed to feel bad for these for people who don't even have a stake in this country? I can't do that. Black people built America. We are America. We should own all of this, at least half of it. So we got a right to be here, 100% right. Doesn't mean other people shouldn't be invited, possibly, but you know, immigration laws are used to dilute the impact of black people. Black people were a much larger percentage of the population at the turn of the 20th century, or excuse me, when we came in, what was it? The last century was the 20th century, thank you. When we went from the 19th to the 20th century, we were a much larger percentage of the population than we are today because there was a deliberate strategy to let so many people into the country that the percentage of black people will be diluted so that you would have no power. And y'all getting behind that shit. Y'all are supporting it. Y'all like, let's go. That's right. That's right. Open borders for everybody. Let's take 20 years of illegal immigration and act like it never happened. You can't get away with that in almost any country in the world. I don't know too many countries where you can go illegally and then act like it was legal and then have them like feel bad for you and allow you to pretend like it didn't happen. And shit, I mean, if we acting like laws ain't real, like laws don't exist, then you need to go. Here you go. I'm gonna make a deal with you. Some of y'all watching, some of you are getting mad and upset. Your feelings are hurt because I'm not, you know, singing the Democratic Party line or whatever. And so here's what I'm gonna make a deal with you. This is political backdoor dealing. I'm going to make a deal with you. I will go out and I will publicly support any act, any bring the families together act, anything you want. I will support that if you go to the penitentiaries right now and reunite the families of every non-violent drug offender who has children at home who are traumatized 100,000 times more than these Mexican kids are at the border, right? I'm talking about the kids in the border. God bless them. It's terrible. They've gone through about 2 weeks of trauma, 2 weeks of the extreme agony of not having their parent. Black children who have fathers that have been in prison since the 80s have gone through 20 or 30 years of trauma. Some of them are grown-ups, but deep down inside, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, please say something. It never goes away. It never goes away. When my uncle was my favorite relative, he was like a brother to me. I loved him to death. Loved him to death. Was very, very close to him. Very close to him. Well, when I was 12, he broke the law. And when he broke the law, they sent him to prison. I wasn't 12. I'm sorry. I was 9. I was 9. And because he was 17. Well, they didn't send him to like juvie. They didn't send him to kiddie prison. They sent him to grown man prison. And you know how things happen in grown man prison. So I remember being in the back seat of the car, sitting on the right-hand side, leaned against the window, and I heard my Uncle Charles say, yeah, Donald went back to jail. And I used to go see Donald all the time. I used to go see him all the time, and I loved him so much. And I would I remember sitting there, and I was leaning against the window, and I just didn't say nothing. And I just started crying. Because I needed him. You know, I loved him so much. And I was in the 8th grade a year or two later. So maybe he went to prison at 9, and he got out and went back again or something. And I remember being in the 8th grade, and I hated school. I was so bad at school. And all I would do in class was I would be writing him letters. like to jail, in jail, like writing them all these letters. And I remember how I felt, you know. And here's the thing, you know, I was just a little black boy, so wasn't nobody feeling my pain, wasn't nobody caring about what I was going through, you know. And I don't know what happened to him when he was in jail. I don't know. I don't know what he went through. I can only imagine. But I know that when he came home, he was not right. He was not right, you know, and he never got right. And he wasn't right until the day he died, and he died a very tragic death. And the thing about it is that, you know, you expect me to go around feeling sorry for somebody I don't even know. And there's people out here I know that went through stuff that was 10 times worse than what I went through. What I went through was so bad that I'm sitting here as a 47-year-old man crying over something that happened when I was 9. So you can miss me with that bullshit. You can miss me with the comparisons to slavery. I'm sorry, white people, this immigration thing, this ain't slavery. So stop fucking using our tragedy as your stepping stone to political gain. Stop using slavery as an analogy for every goddamn thing, from homosexual rights to immigrant shit. Stop it. Stop it. Find your own analogies. Find something else. Find something else. 2, I need people to show as much sympathy for all these black separated families as they're showing for all these immigrant families that are being separated. Lord knows my heart does go out to them, but why is it that everybody else's pain is always more relevant than the pain that we feel as black people? Why is it that black pain always comes in last? There wasn't nobody paying attention to any of that when we were going through it over decades, and you act like people can't recover because they've been going through it for 2 weeks. That's why I don't vote for y'all. That's why I'm not participating in none of your bullshit, because you're full of it. You're full of it. 3, you know, these black commentators that are on TV caping for white folks, caping for the Democratic Party, you need to be ashamed of yourselves. You are an embarrassment to the whole community. You're looking silly right now. You're looking crazy. You're looking like somebody like you bought and paid for. You're looking like a freaking puppet. Embarrassing. And I'm not just talking about Angela Rye. I'm talking about any of these black folks, the CBC members, all of them. All of them. It's embarrassing. Number 4, I don't understand, if breaking the law is bad when black people do it, why is breaking the law okay when immigrants do it? It doesn't make any sense. And when white people do it, why is it okay? And I also want to know, when these people come to the United States and y'all done went out and got your favorite Negroes on TV caping for them and fighting for them, are they going to come over here and do the same thing for us? Once you let them in and act like they didn't illegally come to the country, you know, fine, whatever. They got a better life. Good for them. Most of them law-abiding, hardworking people. We know that ain't true for everybody. But most of the ones I know, most of the people I know from other countries are good people. But my question is, when I show up and I need you to have the same sympathy for me and my people that I had for you and your people, are y'all going to show up? When we hold a march and a rally for mass incarceration to see if we can get some of these black men and women out of prison so they can be reunited with their families, are you gonna fight as hard for that as our high, you know, paid for Negroes were fighting for you on TV? Or do you not have enough time? Does Univision and all these Latino organizations that own companies like The Root, are they really going to fight as hard for black people? Are they going to step out as a corporation and say, you know what, black people fought for us, we going to fight for y'all? Are y'all doing that, or are y'all acting like we just niggas in your mind? Because you think the white-black divide is big in the United States? It's even bigger in Latin America. It's bigger in Latin America. The lighter skinned, white-looking Latinos do not respect the dark-skinned black Latinos. It's just like the United States, and sometimes even worse. So stop acting like there's a black and brown coalition where every person from Mexico or wherever is identifying with black people. You got black people in South Central LA who've been run out of their neighborhood by Latino gangs, by Latinos who are like, we don't want to live next to the niggas. Everybody comes over here and they like, we don't want nothing to do with the niggas. Get those niggas out of my neighborhood. So are you going to stand with us the way our people are expected to stand with you? And if the answer is no, then my answer will always be no. And in fact, I know the answer is no. So let me go ahead and give you your no in advance. I ain't got time for none of that. I ain't got time to fight on your issue. I ain't got time to deal with somebody else's minimal pain when black people have gone through a prolonged period of maximal pain. Do not ask me again. I'm done with it. So this whole debate is stupid. I think it's a waste of black people's time. I think that it's nothing more than a mind trick and psychological and social and emotional manipulation. I think that they're asking you to have empathy for people because they're on TV, when really you have a lot of people who can't get on TV who are going through 10 times worse than that. In fact, let's do a comparison. Let's do a contest. Who has more divided and separated families right now? That group of illegal immigrants on the border whose parents chose to break a country's national law, or the black folks in prison right now who have children at home who are going through all kinds of hell because daddy ain't there to help protect and pay the bills and do what fathers do. You tell me which one's worse. You tell me who has more separated families. So if that small group of separated families gets all that attention, then why is the bigger group of separated families getting very little attention? That does not make any sense to me, but it does make sense if you understand that we live in America. This is America. This is your country. This is what we signed up with. This is what we're in, period. So that's it. I'm gonna go. I didn't mean to get emotional, but I started thinking about my own experience with it. I didn't even plan on bringing that up, but when I started really thinking about how I felt when my favorite uncle, who was like my older brother, the closest thing I had to an older brother, when he was taken away from me, not one single person checked on me to see if I was okay. Not one single person said, Boyce is going through trauma. You know, let's help this boy out. You know, this poor child, we can't take him away. This is his mentor. He needs his mentor. Didn't nobody ever step up and say that to me. And I live in America. I am American going back hundreds of years. So how can I understand or comprehend you having sympathy for strangers when you ain't even got no sympathy for people that have been here, people that paid the dues to build this country? That's it. That's it. This ain't no anti-nobody. I'm not being anti-nobody, but I'm being pro-black. And being pro-black means we need to be at the front of the line, not the back. And I refuse to accept anything less. I'm about to go. Have a good day, guys. It was good talking to you. And God bless you. And I love you. Talk to you soon. Peace.